I'm sorry.
Come on, Jeremy.
I'm
Come
really
on.
sorry. That is the biggest load of crap I've ever seen.
This is the reaction to Meghan Markle's new Netflix show, and it's not looking good. Let's take a look at some reviews, shall we?
Love to Meghan from Meghan. I know no one is going to believe me, but I didn't want to hate this show when I started it. It just made me hate it on its own.
A bland tone, deaf exercise, and self-promotions.
Shallow, vain, vapid, out of touch, self-aggrandizing, inauthentic, robotic, boring.
Meghan Markle just dropped her new Netflix show. And let's just say, it's not getting the royal treatment. Critics are calling it pointless, narcissistic, and downright unwatchable. But instead of staying quiet, Meghan is hitting back, claiming the show is a success. So, what's really going on? Let's break it all down. First, let's talk about what this show actually is. With Love, Meghan is a lifestyle series where Meghan Markle takes us into her world, showing off her favorite recipes, gardening skills, and hanging out with her A-list friends.
I had lunch. I said, Claire, can I put you to work too? So we all sat around. We made these cookies for you guys to enjoy, and I just thought it'd be fun.
Sounds harmless, right? Well, the internet disagrees. A lot of people have been reacting to Meghan Markle's latest Netflix disaster, and the backlash is absolutely brutal. Kyle mocked the documentary's attempt to portray Meghan as a relatable, hands-on mother, particularly a scene where she prepared a beautiful plate of fruit for breakfast. He found it laughable that she was giving advice on being a present parent, while completely ignoring the reality that most working parents barely have time to shower, let alone curate a picture-perfect morning routine.
Can I just point something out as a parent with 6 kids? It's so nice to be a present parent. Yeah, whatever, love. Because, you know, I don't have to work. It's Saturday, And then I'm just going to do a beautiful plate of fruit for my children. Let me tell you something, you deranged human being. There are parents who haven't got a millisecond to even have a shower, okay? Shower. And she's talking about a beautiful plate of fruit. Try being in my house at 6 o'clock, man, you stupid woman.
Rupert Bell took issue with how staged the entire production felt, pointing out that the immaculate garden where Meghan was filmed picking mint was obviously maintained by a team of staff. He scoffed at the idea that her hands had ever done a day's gardening in their life, and criticized the presence of an 80-person production crew that made the supposedly authentic moments feel scripted and artificial.
And it's not even filmed in her house, so it's not even, it's so fake. There was a production crew of 80, I believe, behind the scenes, sort of piecing it all together in this multi-millionaire neighbour's house. So what you've got is just so fake, it's cringeworthy. What you didn't see is later she puts a bit of yogurt on that plate and says, that can be the clouds. So some of it is just cringe-making.
Bell also ridiculed Meghan's attempted rebrand through this documentary, arguing that it was just another way for her to stay relevant after her past projects, like Archetypes, fell apart. He sarcastically summed up the show as how to make a sandwich while a ginger bloke says he loves you, and dismissed the entire thing as nothing more than a carefully manufactured PR stunt.
Look, we know that she's trying to rebrand herself, and she talks
As
about...
what, an idiot?
Well, bringing back the TIG brand and her creativity, but she's had all kinds of problems, which she's sort of rewriting history a bit when American Riviera Orchard hit the buffers. So she's now launched the As Ever brand, which is supposed to be linked around this documentary. But it's so divorced from reality.
Another strong reaction came from royal experts, who called Meghan's show a total cun. During The Sun's royal exclusive show, royal editor Bronte Coy and veteran royal photographer Arthur Edwards absolutely ripped into With Love Meghan, calling it fake, staged, and, worst of all, boring.
Right, guys, With Love Meghan has been absolutely savaged. It's been roasted by the critics. Now, we're not TV critics, we are royal experts. But Arthur, we watched it. Why is it so bad?
I just think it was just completely over the top. Everybody was amazed. Everybody, you know, in the show, oh, it's amazing. It's, I love that. I love that. You know, there was everything about it was just false.
Arthur didn't hold back, mocking Meghan's perfect breakfast scene, saying her tea looked like a urine sample. He even said the whole setup was unrealistic.
And, you know, nobody's got that time in the morning to cook breakfast, you know, lay the bacon out beautifully in the pan. I mean, the kids must be going to school late every day waiting for their breakfast. I mean, it was just false. And the whole thing was false. It wasn't even her own house. It was somebody else's house. It wasn't, you know, looking at the mountains, wasn't even the view from her home. Drinking tea that wasn't tea, like it was absolutely awful tea. If you gave me a cup of tea, I'd give it back to you. It was dreadful. I mean, just like a urine sample.
Bronte, on the other hand, was just disappointed. "I was so bored, and I was disappointed to be bored," she admitted.
"I watched the whole thing, all of it, so no one else has to. It is so boring. I was so bored. I was so disappointed to be so bored, because you watch it and you go, okay, who's she trying to reach here? She's trying to reach America, and you've mentioned the reviews there, but the reality is that the reviews in America aren't very good either. So that has clearly not landed."
According to her, this was Meghan's big moment to finally show the world who she really is. Instead, more smoke and mirrors.
And the reason I think is because you're watching it and going, this was finally 5 years on from leaving the royal family after all these rebrand attempts. This was the moment we were going to see just Meg. You know, this is the Meghan that we've heard about, that we're finally going to see in her happy environment. There were so many times during the show where she began to say something mildly interesting or personal and then just completely steered away and talked about, you know, an egg yolk instead. There was a moment she was gift wrapping. This is the best example of what I'm talking about.
Arthur went even further, hinting that Meghan's nice girl act on screen doesn't match how she treated her staff at Kensington Palace. "It was false, absolutely false," he said. And if that wasn't brutal enough, he predicted there won't even be a second season.
I just thought the whole show was terrible. I wouldn't know what I did. Couldn't watch the second episode. And as far as, you know, this is series 1, I doubt there'd be a series 2.
Mike Zero didn't shy away from presenting his opinion of the show. According to him, this show is one of the worst things Netflix has ever put out, and even Netflix knew it was going to be a flop. Apparently, CEO Greg Peters and the board saw this train wreck coming from miles away, but for some reason, they still let it happen.
This is just a TV show that nobody wanted in general, nobody really needed, and it just did not work. And again, the acting is terrible, everything about it is very fake, phony, inauthentic, and just screams of desperation.
Zero spilled that Netflix held an emergency meeting and canceled season 2 on the spot. They'd already greenlit it just in case this show was a hit. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. But after seeing the 12% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, they were like, yeah, no, we're done. And Meghan? Oh, she's losing it. According to Zero, she's furious and blaming Netflix's CEO, calling him a misogynist, and even accusing the company of discriminating against women. Mike Zero also claimed that Meghan straight up copied Pamela Anderson's cooking show without anyone noticing. Until now.
Now, Markle reportedly was furious over the quick and sudden update to the future of her cooking show series that also involves her lifestyle and hobbies. Shockingly, though, it didn't really just have to do with the sudden ratings failure. It also involved the drama between Markle and Pamela Anderson after she copied many elements of Pamela's show right under Netflix's nose. And though still roughly 50% of the board support Meghan Markle, even those board members decided it was the right move to cancel the series altogether.
With Netflix losing subscribers by the day, Meghan's future with the platform is hanging by a thread. And at this point, nobody would be shocked if they just dropped her completely. Another person to give his reaction is royal expert Alexander Larman. He called With Love Meghan a not very good show that lacks any real entertainment value. According to him, Meghan's attempt at creating a sophisticated lifestyle brand has completely fallen flat, leaving audiences bored and uninterested.
With Love Meghan is the name of this latest show. What did you make of it?
Well, it's not very good, is it? I mean, that's putting it mildly. What's been so interesting is I regarded the advent of With Love Meghan rather like I regarded root canal surgery. It's one of those things that you know it's coming, you really don't want it to happen, and eventually it arrives and it's just as awful as you think it's going to be.
Larman also pointed out the bizarre moments in the series, like Meghan talking about personalized pretzel bags and making awkward comments like, "My bacon brings all the boys to the yard." He said these scenes made the show feel more like a contractual obligation rather than a genuine, well-thought-out project. And to make matters worse, the famous friends Meghan brought on the show are people most viewers have never even heard of.
And while you're watching it, you have this enormous sense of why? Why are you doing this? Why are you demeaning yourself in this fashion? Because Meghan has hired a house which is supposed to be worth between £5 million and £10 million. And And she's got her famous friends, except of course none of us will have heard of her famous friends. They're not that famous friends.
Another major issue Larman addressed is how even Meghan's biggest supporters in the media aren't defending the show. Traditionally, left-leaning outlets like The Guardian, which have always backed Meghan and Harry, have given it brutal reviews. Larman believes this is a huge sign that public interest in the Sussex is fading. The thing is, Meghan had a golden chance to change the narrative. But instead, she gave the world a glossy, soulless show that didn't reveal anything real. So, what does this mean for Meghan's career? Her Spotify podcast was quietly canceled last year, and now her Netflix deal is looking shaky. Could this be the beginning of the end for her Hollywood ambitions? Or will Meghan manage to turn things around? Now, we want to hear from you. Have you watched with Love Meghan? Is it really as bad as people say, or is Meghan just an easy target? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this royal drama.